Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD, and it's time for game number 2 between Fanatics Alive and IM's Nestea. And this is from IPL 4, live from Las Vegas. And I'm, of course, recasting these 4 weeks after the fact because I wanted to bring you guys some of the best highlight games from IPL 4. And I think I'm only going to do one set, and that's going to be this one. Once again, this is going to be a best of 5. And, of course, it's going to be a Terran versus Zerg. The winner of the previous match was Alive, in one of the most interesting matches I've seen in some time, because it was so close, but yet not really close at all for Nestea, if you get my drift, because, you know, at so many points Nestea had, well, he never had the third base really settled down and mined, and that is why I say he was never really in the game. But at the same time, when you look at it from a statistical viewpoint, it almost seems like Nestea was in the game, and it almost seemed really, really close. It was just such a battle, and Alive played out a strategy perfectly. It was ultra aggression, starting off with the all-in into being able to stop off the third base, basically bottling it off, capping it off, and not letting the Zerg realize the benefits of a 5th and 6th gas. Now, we're going to be going here on game 2, and the map is Daybreak. But before the map really begins, I just wanted to say I've heard all your comments and feedback regarding the Guild Wars 2 beta video that I was planning to make, and it seems like a lot of you guys really wanted to see it, so I am going to make that Guild Wars 2 video. I just have to parse through my terabyte of footage and then find something decent. Once I get something pretty good, I'll edit it together, I'll work some magic on it, and I'll try to bring something out for you guys that is halfway decent. You know, I love the game. It's a PvP-centric MMO. It's very different from all the other MMOs out there because it's not, I guess I can use the word Care Bearish, but I hesitate to say that because there's some people who might get offended. But it's not PvE centered; it's PvP centered, and I'll try to highlight that in the near future when I get some of the content together. It should be coming out within a week. Also have a couple announcements I'll make in the future as well. But for now, let's get back to this game. Nestea, of course, the blue Zerg at the top right, and Alive is the purple Terran. And it looks like Alive here is going to get his scouting SCV over to the natural, and immediately going to skip that and go right into the main, checking for gases, of course, to see if the Zerg is going to have early speed or not. And he does not see an inkling of the gas. Also note, Alive did place his barracks on the low ground, and I was going to say that's always a good indicator that the Terran wants to go for the 1 barracks fast expand, because this already helps narrow off the corridor leading into the natural, making it more difficult for Zerg units, which typically like to swarm and flood in. It makes it more difficult for them to get inside. So there's 1 barracks up right now. We should see a 2nd and 3rd barracks inside the base, and there they are. And we do have a double gas coming up after this as well. Now, usually most Terran players, you're doing this because you want to get the early tech lab, you want to get that early stim pack and combat shields. Following that, we're probably going to see factory starport, might even see double NG bay, depending which way the Terran wants to go. Does he want to go fast mobility with the medevacs? Does he want to get quicker siege tanks with the factory and tech lab, or does he want to just get upgrades for his marines? Third hatchery is coming up for Nestea right now, and that's at the outside perimeter location, of course. We don't see a gas yet from Nestea, and this is almost kind of like the Stefano. It's kind of giving me a little bit of reminiscence of the Stefano PVZ style, or ZVP style, and that's where they get gas around 6 minutes, 6 minutes and 30 seconds about, and then they start to make roaches. Of course, this isn't a ZVP, it's a ZVT, but we all know that Stefano also likes to get roaches in ZVT, and he likes that for map control. He also likes that so that he can ward away the Hellions and the Marines, and then even apply a little bit of offensive pressure if necessary. Now, it looks like we have submarines moving out across the field, probably just being used to, you know, scout out the area a little bit, figure out what's going on. They're just expeditionary marines, but I love how they're all kind of spreading out, encompassing as much surface area as marinely possible. And it looks like they're going to tag the Zelnaga tower outside the Zerg base. 1 Zergling here getting pushed away. It looks like it is going to die, but you guys can see Nestea's control, whether it be Mutalisks or Zerglings, is usually is on point. And he's always kind of paying attention to those, which is a good hallmark of a Zerg player. We have a Roachworn coming at the same time. So it certainly looks like Stefano taking, or excuse me, Nestea taking a page out of Stefano's book. And these Marines kind of just moving out and figuring out if there's an opportunity for them to attack. But, you know, with a queen over here and Zerglings on the map, with roaches soon to be out on the field, we'll see. We'll see if Alive decides to make an attack or not. One thing to note is he does have a lot of Marine production. This is essentially 5 barracks. Do note he's also got the NG Bay for +1 and factory starport. But, you know, he's got a lot of Marine production right now. And Stimpack about to finish up as well. The Zerg, on the other hand, does not have Banelings, nor does he have Zergling speed yet. And typically to deal with mass Marines with upgrades, you know, Roaches are not very good against that. They're good against small numbers of Marines, but against a large pack of them, they're not very good at all. The small arms fire is able to penetrate the Roach hide. So it's going to be pretty important here, I think, for Nestea to maybe get some crawlers up, get some maybe Banelings out, and we can see Baneling Nest is on the way. There could be an opportunity here for Alive to make an attack happen, and remember, he's timing this with +1 weapons. Bro Judge, I will have to put you on busy. And let's see if this attack is going to happen. It is. This is a lot of Marines. It's a legion of the Emperor's finest warriors here, marching into the band, or marching as a band into Ewok territory, and we'll see if Nestea can hold this off. There is some Roaches here, and it looks like these Marines maybe just getting separated from the pack, and they are going to get taken out. Now, Nestea's got to be very careful. He can find himself in a bad situation, and the Marines have stim. These Roaches could be in a lot of trouble, and Nestea is going to lose some of his Roaches, about 2. More Marines filing in as well. Wow, Alive once again just kicking things into high gear. He's bringing in medevac support as well. He's actually got a really big timing attack here. Some Marines going forward. Zergling speed finally kicking in. And with the Zergling speed and the 5 Banelings being made on the ramp, I think Nestea should be able to hold off the hatchery. You know, those Banelings are really the most solid counter possible to Marines. But look at this, Alive is loading up into 2 medevacs. He split up his Marine force here. Gonna send some to the top side. Now these Marines have got to make it out, but the Zergling speed is just proving to be too quick for those Marines, even should they have Stimpack. But now, you know, were those Marines' deaths in vain? Were they enough to cause enough of a distraction to allow these Marines to do damage? And they kill off, I believe, the Spire as it was morphing. No, it was not the Spire. It was actually just a Spine Crawler. But the spawning pool will fall. And where have we seen this before? So those Marines' deaths were not in vain. They were able to pick off about 8 drone kills, and they were able to kill off a spawning pool. The question is, was that worth it? And at this point, I have to say no. I don't think it was worth it yet. However, if Alive is able to take advantage... Oh, that's nice. Dropping off Marines to detonate solo Banelings. But I was going to say, if Alive is able to take advantage of this window where the Zerg does not have Zergling production capability, then I think he can make it worth it. As of right now, I would hesitate to say that losing that many Marines was worth the cost of killing off a spawning pool and 8 drones. But he does have an opportunity right now, and funnily enough, you know, Nestea is not making a spawning pool. He is actually, does not have a spawning pool whatsoever, and he's gonna quickly find himself wondering why he can't make Zerglings, why the Z button is not working. He's just purely relying on mutas right now. A lot of mutas actually coming out on the field. That one muta did reveal itself on the Marine at the Zelnaga Tower. One medevac moving out to the northeast and across paths with a Zergling as well. So Nestea knows all about the medevac. And now finally making a new spawning pool. I was going to say, you know what, that window of opportunity suddenly became a door of opportunity, but it looks like a spawning pool is coming. There certainly still is the possibility for Alive to do some damage here. And income tab showing both players pretty high in economy. But here comes those Marines dropping off inside the main, trying to wheedle down that drone count a little bit more, but there are Zerglings there as well as Banelings. Another medevac here from the bottom right, and we can see Alive, his plan coming to fruition, trying to drop multiple locations, but Nestea's got a lot of reinforcements here, and maybe just one Marine. I guess they drew straws inside the medevac, and that Marine drew the shorter straw. Poor guy. But I do like what Alive's doing right now. You know, kind of a different approach than the last game. The last game we saw mass Marines and tanks on the ground and, you know, an all-in hyper-aggression style. This game we're seeing more passivity, but then into the mid-game, ooh, almost taking out that drone, but in the mid-game seeing more of a MMA style, you know, mass Marine dropping. Let's check the status on that Hive Tech. No Hive Tech as of yet for Nestea. Nestea is mining a lot of gas off of 6 gases right now, about to have 7 and 8 up. So we should see the Hive coming up pretty soon. Oh, it looks like this drop party getting scouted out, getting sniffed out. The drop was impending, but it was scouted by the Zerg units, and Nestea is going to be able to clean up these Marines. They're desperately trying to run home, but they are not. Oh, maybe just one Marine makes it out alive. And so I guess they drew straws again. Banelings detonating. I'm not too sure where. But Nestea is actually in control of this game at this point. He is at maxed at this moment, 15 minutes in, considering both sides have lost a considerable amount of resources. It's pretty shocking that Nestea's been maxed now. And so it would be prudent of Nestea to make an attack happen, but he runs his mutas inside the Marine army. Gets absolutely devastated. He loses about maybe a quarter of his Mutalisk and taking some damage as well. Alive has got to be happy with that. His ground army upgrades at 1 armor, 1 weapons. Nestea at 1 weapons on flyer, and his ground units at 1/1. So Nestea does hold the upgrade advantage. Excuse me, no he doesn't, because Alive also has mech +1, and we can see more upgrades coming on the production tab. More actually for Alive than Nestea, and here comes Nestea flying over, making use of the fact that air units, of course, don't have to path around the doodads or around the caverns, and Nestea might have an opportunity here to do some damage on the medevacs. The medevacs were stranded, not next to the Marines, and about 3 medevacs going down. Alive buffling up, or not buffling up, basically messing up the Marine micro right there. And bungling the Marine micro is what I was trying to say, and putting them inside the medevac. And now, wow, Nestea feeling very confident after that last attack. Planning to make it a big roll in here. He's gonna send everything right down the throat of Alive, and Alive is in so much trouble. He's gonna try to run all of his SCVs away. The bunker falls, and the orbital command shortly gonna die as well. It tries to lift off a futile effort. Never heard it, but the Borg say resistance is futile. And that's exactly what Nestea is saying right now to Alive. It looks like, though, he doesn't care. He's dropping down in the bottom right. And he might actually be able to kill off this hatchery because all the Zerg units are located to the north, or to the northwest right now. And yes, the hatchery will fall. So, you know, Alive gets a little bit of a vengeance here, but he doesn't. I don't think he killed off nearly as many workers. No, actually, neither side killing workers off. I do apologize. I guess Alive was able to evacuate most of his SCVs out there. And here comes the next big attack. Banelings and Zerglings rolling in. Marines are stuck, though. They can't get behind the tanks, and they were able to funnel behind. A lot of tanks going down, but it looks like Alive is going to make a hold here. Very nice control by Alive. I thought for a second some of his Marines were caught in front of the tanks, but it seems like there was an opportunity for those slimmed up Marines to just skinny their way behind the tanks, and you know, the tanks dying, but they detonated from the Banelings, and that's always a good trade. The Marines left over can take out the Mutalisks, and all of a sudden Nestea in a little bit of trouble here. Alive making a big push. He's at 2-2. That tank in the front might die. No, it will not. It's very important here for Alive to keep his tanks alive. It looks like we had some burrowed Banelings hiding around in the restricted zone, or perhaps they were just Banelings that were chilling there, because we saw some green detonation. Nestea here giving up a lot of ground to the Terran player, surprisingly, and allowing Alive to max out a pretty substantial army of tanks and Thors and good Marine backup as well. 2-3 now are the upgrades for the bio, and 0-1 for the metal. Nestea at 1-2, and his flyers are at 0-1, so Nestea's really not doing too good on upgrades. He's gonna have to be very careful here. This army could do a lot of damage. I mean, literally can take out a hatchery in like 1 second. Good raise on the supply depot, barely in time, but there's a hole. It looks like Alive finds a hole. He leaks on by into the natural, and he goes into the third. He detonates about half of his Banelings on the command center, and now these SCVs and meals, will they be able to make it away? It looks like they do, just like their brothers before, and Alive now maybe pigeonholed into making an all-in attack because he lost his command center up here at the third. And losing that, he's got to make an attack. He's got to kill off a couple of hatcheries here to even out. And he knows it. He's sending his entire army through the southern corridor. Remember, his upgrades are absolutely way higher than the Zerker now, but it looks like Nestea about to catch up. One hatchery at the pocket will fall. Couple of Zerglings waiting outside here. One new orbital command coming to replace the fallen one. And Alive making a big roll here. He's going to try to attack and take out this hatchery, but he's got to kill off the hatcheries here. He's definitely behind in economy now, only down to pretty much no mining bases. So this is all that Alive's got, and he's got to do a ton of damage unless he can secure this command center and get some mining going. Of course, he's got a ton of idle SCVs, I'd imagine. Yeah, he does. So Alive here, gotta be careful. Can't lose his army here. Some of the tanks in the front getting picked off, but that's okay if it costs Banelings. And then Nestea realizing, hey, I gotta stop sacrificing my Banelings, so he runs his Banelings away and lets his Zerglings do the dirty work. But dang, Alive lost a lot of tanks there. Not too sure if that's what he wanted to do. I thought for sure he was going to fight next to his Sea Shanks, deciding not to. Now reinforcing the third position as well. And Banelings rolling in. The Thors need to absorb these Baneling hits, and they do just that. Splendid work by the Thors. And Alive also picking up the Marines inside of the Medivacs. This is going to get down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, Alive is now mining off of the third, so he has a fresh source of income. And he's also making a huge attack on Zerg grounds now. Nestea could be in a lot of trouble. He needs Baneling support right now, and here comes the Banelings from the south. All those Marines and Thors saved at the very last second. The tanks can't say the same for them because they were sieged up, but Alive with some clutch micro at the very last second. But will he get away, or will his Medivacs fall? He drops his Thors and Mutas. The Thor was so weak, though, it falls immediately. The Marines will be able to back up. And Alive gets out of one of the stickiest situations. That was like a scenario coated with peanut butter, and he gets out at the very last second. So lucky for Alive that he didn't lose his entire army, because that could have been game over. But certainly Nestea gaining back some ground here. I'm so shocked and surprised that Nestea is not working off of Hive Tech. This is like the old school way of playing ZVT. Mass Zerglings, mass Mutas, and just purely layer tech. He's running in here with all the Zerglings and Banelings now, doing a lot of damage to the economy as the Banelings are forcing the Marines to train on them. And here comes the Banelings. Oh, what a detonation. 46 workers killed total. And Alive now is barely staying alive. Oh no, Nestea's now running rampant inside the main. I think this is going to be all she wrote. I don't know how any Terran can survive once there's a bunch of Zerglings all inside the main. And do note, these Zerglings don't even have crack. They're not at the Hive Tech. So Nestea's really got to end the game now. He can't wait any longer because those upgrades are no longer favoring him. And so he's inside the main doing a ton of damage, killing off buildings left and right. But somehow Alive is able to bring his reinforcements over from the third and save the main base. I'm actually surprised that Alive was able to do that, considering Nestea had a bunch of mutas. I thought he was going to go over to the third, and you know, if the army goes down here to the south, then he's got an opportunity to attack into the third. But Nestea's mutas were preoccupied with something else. And wow, this is such a crazy game, but I still feel like Nestea having the edge here. You know, it is 4 bases to 3 bases. And Nestea has predominant map control right now. It is 145 supply to 78. And of course, he's claiming another hatchery at the pocket location inside the center of the map. And Alive here, what can he do to get back in this game? I mean, you know, he's great, doing great on upgrades. That's not his weak point right now. I think he's just got to try to incorporate some Thors in here once again. Secure another expansion would be really nice. It's just that he's so spread thin right now that it's very difficult to be able to get another command center down when he's got to, you know, use all of his forces to defend this orbital command right here. And this isn't a map where you can really ninja expand to a hidden location. There's just nowhere to do that. So, you know, the best opportunity I think here for Alive, maybe sit back on this base just a little bit longer and then lift off this orbital at the natural and just try to get another expansion down. Either that, or he's got to make a huge push with whatever army he's got and try to end the game like that. And we'll see what he decides to do, it looks like Nestea coming in here now. He finally has some Infestor tech out, and the comp set will reveal that. That's got to be scary for Marines to deal with, man. When they see Infestors, now Alive's got to take the extra multitasking and spread out his Marines, and he's still got to worry about these Mutalisks in the skies doing a little bit of damage. Now he's gonna have to leave some Marines back at home as he sends out the rest of his army. Will he lift off this natural or not? No, he will not. Looks like he's just going to try to claim the center of the map first, doing a pretty good job here, not losing too many Marines, and able to clear out the Zerglings on the ground. He's going to give chase to this Infestor. Does not have enough energy for a Fungal, and will he stim some Marines up to get rid of that Infestor before she can Fungal? It's almost going to go down, but not quite, and more Infestors coming to join their brother in need. And it looks like Alive, you're going to lose the rest of his army. I don't think Alive can continue this battle. Nestea is probably going to tie up this series. And the reason why I say I don't think Alive can continue this battle anymore is because there's still this pack of Mutas on the map, and he has no answer for it. Pushing away the Mutalist temporarily there, but here comes the Banelings, and that's got to be it. No, not yet. Never discount the 2-3 Marines, man. They are so heavily upgraded that, oh wow, Alive losing, killing off a lot more Mutalisks as they were running away. But the Infestors, man, that's what counters Marines. No matter how many upgrades you have, the Fungal Growth does a constant amount of damage, and armor doesn't really save you there. So now the Marine count getting whittled down enormously. And Alive here on the last strings here. Dying breath. It looks like he's going to get cleaned up by the Mutalisks and the Infestors. I don't see how he can continue this game. Still reinforcing with more Marines, though. He's not giving up. He's at 56 supply, under 145. Let's take a look at the income. 21 Harvesters to 79. Units lost. Actually, really in favor of Alive, but Zerg units cost a lot. Zerg units come a lot more and cost a lot less. So there we go. Alive GG's. And it looks like Nestea is going to be able to tie up this series. Another extended bout between these two juggernauts. And looks like Nestea able to claim the victory today. So now it is tied up at 1-1 apiece. And I'm so excited. Before we go on to Game 3, though, and figure out what happens in this best of 5, who's going to win, let's go ahead and rewind a bit here. Alright, let's go ahead and look at the 20-minute timestamp here. This is actually one of the interesting parts of the game. A lot of decision-making going into this. Now, you guys can see this is right when Alive was able to claim the third with a bunch of meals, and his income tab was just absolutely skyrocketing. Almost 3,000 minerals per minute. It was 3,000 minerals per minute, but then Nestea makes an attack. That was a dual-pronged attack. One dedicated to killing off the third, and this was just a distraction. Nestea able to actually secure that, but anytime a Zerg does that, they really fall behind an army supply. They just sacrifice a huge army of Banelings to kill off a structure, and they sent a bunch of Zerglings and Banelings to do that. Now this is where a Terran player has to say to himself, okay, A, I lost my orbital command, so I don't have the economy to go for the next few minutes unless I replace it, and B, my opponent's army is not big at all, and there you guys can see 182 supply to 153 supply. So the Terran is ahead in 30 supply right now, so this is what you need to do. You need to attack, you need to kill off hatcheries. And I think at this point Alive said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and kill off 2 hatcheries. And that makes a lot of sense, so that he can even out the number of bases to 3 Zerg bases to 2 Terran bases. But in the next couple of minutes here, this is what was kind of sketchy, because first of all, Alive didn't comsat the creep, so his entire army is on the purple stuff, and look at how many Banelings Nestea was morphing. You're on the creep right now, you've got to comsat. Alive kind of getting a little impatient here, and I feel like that was, that was his downfall, because, being on the creep like this is what's going to happen. All the Banelings are going to roll in. And I said during the cast, during the heat of the cast, oh, it's okay because he's losing tanks. At that moment in time, yes, but then if he doesn't have tank support, he needs to pull back. And what Alive did was he continued to stay without tank support. So look at this. Banelings detonating on siege tanks. And then Nestea says, okay, I don't need to sacrifice my Banelings anymore. But at this point, when you don't have tank support anymore, it's a good idea to go ahead and fall back. And Alive said, nah, I'm going to stay. I've got 2 more tanks. But little did he realize that he had given the Zerg enough time to re-macro, and he was still on the creep. And he lost actually a significant chunk of his army. What he did by evacuating the rest of his army into his medevacs was kind of like, you know, cutting the bleeding off. But he had already hemorrhaged quite a bit of blood out to the ground. And I think he does it right about here, as he tries to shove his way up to the natural. And I'm not too sure, you know, what possessed him to do this. He should have known there were still tons of meters out on the field, and so he saves some of his army, but this was kind of the beginning of the downfall for Alive. And I think if he had just been content with killing off the pocket hatchery and played a little bit more patiently and killed off the creep tumors in the middle of the map here before continuing to engage onwards, and then maybe falling back after he lost most of his tanks, I think he would have been in a better position. And maybe expand again up to the top left. But as it stands, Nestea was allowed to kind of get back in the game and just kind of go crazy. And that right there was definitely the nail in the coffin. And you guys can see 85 supply to 152. Now we're going to go ahead and go on to game number 3. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is your Broadcaster HD, and I'll see you guys in the next video.